They burned my farm, called me homeless, and laughed at my downfall, but they didn't know I still had a connection to the billionaire I once babysat, and now I'm coming for everything they've ever taken. Nyx Alden had always believed in the quiet certainties of life. The dawn over her family's farm painted the world in hues of gold and amber. The wind whispered through wheat fields like an old friend, and even the cracked, weathered barn carried a comforting scent of straw and earth. To outsiders, it may have seemed mundane, even boring, but to Nyx, it was everything. The farm was more than soil and timber. It was legacy, memory, and identity. Her parents had built it from nothing, carving a life out of stubborn hope and tireless effort. And Nyx, their only child, had learned early that every seed she planted was a promise, every tree she nurtured a link to the past. She had been soft-spoken, perhaps, but intelligent beyond her years, understanding the patterns of weather, the moods of animals, and the unspoken tensions in her family. But all that certainty was about to burn to ash. It began innocuously. A dry summer, the kind that made the wheat brittle, the air sharp with the scent of dust and heat. Nyx rose early each morning, tending to the fields, feeding the chickens, repairing broken fences. There was pride in this labor, yes, but also a stubborn sense of independence. Her parents, busy with paperwork and debts, often dismissed her efforts, unaware that she kept the farm running even when they argued late into the night about money and failures. She remembered the first real warning, a careless comment from her older brother, Theo, over breakfast. "You'll see, Nyx. This farm won't save you. Neither will anyone." His voice was sharp, bitter, almost gleeful. Nyx had merely nodded, trying to swallow her irritation. She didn't yet know that the words were a prophecy. The fire came one night without warning. She had been in the barn, checking on the livestock as a storm passed over. Lightning had struck a distant field, or so she thought, when a faint flicker of orange appeared against the dark horizon. Within minutes, smoke thickened, curling like tendrils into the night sky. She ran toward the farmhouse. The air smelled of burning wood and straw. Flames licked the walls, hungrily consuming memories, photographs, letters, keepsakes from childhood. Her lungs burned, her heart pounded. And yet, amid the chaos, she found herself thinking not of panic, but of strategy. Where to go first, what to save, how to survive. Years of caring for the land had honed her instincts, and they now screamed at her to act. But her family did not help. They arrived moments later, not to save her, but to accuse her. "You did this," her father shouted, pointing a shaking finger. "This is all your fault." Her mother's eyes were cold, unsympathetic. "You've always been too soft, Nyx. Maybe it's time you learned what it means to survive on your own." Soft. The word ignited a fire within her that the flames outside could never match. Soft? She had been the one running through the smoke, saving animals, and trying to salvage what little could be saved. Soft? No. She was calculating, observant, and patient, and she would make them pay for underestimating her. For hours, she wandered through the ruins, ash under her boots and memories swirling like smoke. Every charred beam, every ruined wall, every scorched field whispered the same truth. She had been discarded. Her family did not care for her anymore. Not the person she was, not the one she could become. And then, buried beneath the debris of her childhood, came a memory, a connection from another life. When she was 16, she had spent summers babysitting Darian Aldridge, the heir of Aldridge Industries, a boy then, arrogant, clever, with eyes that saw everything and revealed little. She had saved him from countless misadventures, covering for his mistakes, teaching him patience and humility in subtle ways. In return, he had promised her something almost impossible. "If you ever need me, Nyx, you only need to call." She smiled, faint and dangerous. The memory was a spark. Her family thought she was powerless. They were wrong. Very wrong. The following morning, she packed a small leather bag with essentials, clothes, a few keepsakes she could salvage, and a journal filled with notes and observations. She didn't look back. Not once. She wandered into the nearby town, a place that felt foreign after years of farm life. Cafes, streetlights, people bustling past, unaware of the storm that had consumed her home. She found a small, dimly lit cafe and claimed a corner seat. Her eyes scanned every face, noting behaviors, listening to whispers, capturing details that might one day become leverage. And then came the note. A small, folded slip of paper slipped beneath the door. Its words were brief, chilling, and electric. "You think you've been forgotten, Nyx? I've been waiting." No signature, no hint of origin. But her heart raced, not with fear, but anticipation. The game had begun. Days turned into weeks. Nyx used the town as her observation post, quietly gathering intelligence, learning patterns, and noting connections. She discovered allies she could manipulate, enemies she could expose. She remembered every slight, every insult, every betrayal her family had thrown at her like stones. And through it all, one thought remained constant: Darian Aldridge. The boy she had babysat, now a man of unimaginable influence, the only person capable of giving her the tools to strike back. She wasn't ready to reach out. Not yet, but she could prepare, plan, and wait. Patience had always been her greatest weapon. At night, she lay in a rented room, staring at the ceiling. Her dreams were haunted by smoke, fire, and voices. Yet underneath the fear and anger, there was excitement. She had survived the worst. She had seen betrayal up close. And now, for the first time in her life, she was free to plan, free to strike, free to reclaim not just what she had lost, but to rise above those who had discarded her. She smiled to herself, a slow, deliberate curve of her lips. Soft? Perhaps once. But no longer. In the shadows, she whispered to herself, "They will regret underestimating me." The fire had taken her home. Her family had taken her trust. But neither could take her resolve. And somewhere, in the depths of the city, a connection awaited her, the one person who could transform her revenge from fantasy into reality. Nyx Alden didn't sleep that night after receiving the note. Her mind raced with memories of betrayal, fire, and the scornful laughter of the people who had called her homeless and soft. But beneath the anger, a thrill pulsed through her veins. A challenge had been issued, and she was ready. The only person in the world who could help her turn years of humiliation into absolute power was Darian Aldridge, the billionaire she had babysat as a teenager. She had spent countless summer days keeping him out of trouble, correcting his mistakes, and witnessing glimpses of a brilliance that now defined him. He had promised that one day, if she ever needed help, he would not forget. Now she did. The pier was shrouded in fog when she arrived. Waves slapped against the docks rhythmically, echoing her pulse. Shadows danced across rusted metal, and the distant hum of the city was muted by the night. Nyx's hand tightened around the strap of her leather bag as she spotted him. Darian Aldridge stood there, taller, broader, and more commanding than she remembered. His tailored suit somehow made him seem both untouchable and dangerous. "Nyx," he said, voice low and smooth. It carried the weight of recognition and curiosity, tinged with something else, something she hadn't expected. "Darian," she replied, keeping her tone neutral. "It's been a while." He studied her, eyes sharp and calculating. "You've changed. Stronger, more dangerous than I expected." "I've had to," she said, a hint of steel in her voice. "Things changed.
People changed.
And now I need your help." His lips curved into a subtle, knowing smile. "I was wondering when this day would come. Tell me, is it for power, revenge, or something else?" Her eyes narrowed. "All of the above. They thought I was powerless. I want them to remember exactly who they betrayed." Darian's expression darkened. "Revenge isn't a game, Nyx. It's dangerous. You could lose more than pride if you're careless." "I've always been careful," she replied. For a long moment, the fog and silence between them crackled with tension, both professional and deeply personal. The old chemistry flared, unspoken but undeniable. It was more than memory. It was anticipation, attraction, and an almost reckless curiosity. The first step was planning. Nyx and Darian worked in tandem, each move meticulously calculated. She gathered intelligence about her family, debts, secrets, and alliances. He provided resources, money, connections, and influence. Together, they developed a plan that was subtle, precise, and devastatingly effective. Financial sabotage. Nyx used the knowledge of her family's financial dependencies to exploit weaknesses. Bank accounts were subtly drained, investments sabotaged, and alliances with key partners quietly undermined. She watched as small missteps snowballed into panic and distrust. Psychological manipulation. Anonymous threats, planted rumors, and whispered lies made her family question themselves. Small events, a letter misplaced, an unexpected phone call, eroded their confidence. Every glance at each other became a mirror of paranoia. Romantic tension. While working side by side, Nyx and Darian's proximity created a dangerous intimacy. She noticed the way he watched her, lingering just a second too long. He noticed her strategic brilliance, her fire, and the unspoken desire she tried to hide. One night, as they worked late, she brushed past him to reach a stack of papers. Their hands touched briefly. The spark was undeniable, electric, yet both suppressed it for the sake of the mission. Days turned into weeks. Nyx orchestrated situations where her family's hubris was exposed publicly. She leaked false but plausible information to journalists. Partners began questioning their reliability. Small, controlled crises became an avalanche of public humiliation and private fear. Every victory fed her confidence. Every glance at Darian reminded her she was not alone in this fight. But revenge was never simple. One evening, while examining documents at Darian's office, they discovered a hidden contingency. Her family had secured secret assets abroad, potentially allowing them to recover their wealth. The revelation was a setback, but Nyx thrived on challenges. They think they can escape consequences, she said, pacing the polished floor. They underestimate the girl they burned. Darian, leaning against the mahogany desk, studied her. And yet, you almost enjoy this too much. She turned to him, eyes flashing. Careful. This is serious. This is my life, my legacy. I won't let anyone take it from me again. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. I know, but maybe, just maybe, there's room for both revenge and enjoyment. Her pulse quickened. The thrill of revenge was intoxicating, but the chemistry with Darian was even more dangerous. It was a game of power, trust, and desire, each move precarious, every misstep potentially fatal. The execution of the final phase began. Nyx orchestrated a public financial collapse for her family, revealing their mismanagement and secrets in a carefully timed release. Investors pulled out, banks froze accounts, and alliances crumbled. She watched from the shadows, satisfaction burning hotter than the fires that had consumed her farm. The family, desperate and confused, finally called her. They begged, they pleaded, but it was too late. Nyx held all the cards. You thought I was powerless, she said coldly, standing in front of the remains of their opulent estate. You called me soft, homeless, irrelevant. And yet, her gaze fell on Darian, who stood silently behind her, his presence both comforting and electrifying. You forgot one thing. Never underestimate someone you've wronged. Shock, fear, and humiliation rippled across their faces. Nyx revealed evidence of every lie, every betrayal, every misstep. Her family, stripped of wealth and pride, were powerless to respond. In the aftermath, Nyx's eyes met Darian's. The tension between them was thick, unspoken. She had won her revenge, but the attraction, the connection, remained unresolved. Careful, he murmured, brushing a finger against her hand. Revenge can consume you, but I think you've earned the right to taste it. Nyx smiled, a mixture of satisfaction, triumph, and something softer, more dangerous. I'm not done yet, she said, not referring to revenge, but to the path ahead, power, love, and possibilities she had never allowed herself to dream. And in the shadows of the ruined empire her family once commanded, Nyx Alden realized one truth. She was no longer the girl they had discarded. She was the storm they could not withstand, the mind they could not outwit, and perhaps the only woman who could match Darian Aldridge in both power and passion.